Let me start off by saying that this is not my normal kind of video. The psychic drone of politics has drawn me to do this, so I guess I have to talk about it. I'm a college student, and so I encounter a lot of dissenting political opinion, but it usually doesn't bother me because usually it's grounded in something, whether it's like fiscal conservatism or whatever.
Well, I'm a what they call fiscal conservative. I like problem solving.
But I have noticed there's been a trend of misinformation in college-age students. I was talking with a acquaintance of mine, and somehow we got to the topic of Ukraine and funding to Ukraine, because again, we're economists and we talk about really boring and or fucked up things, or both at the same time. And she insisted that the U.S. support for Ukraine was America's stupidest decision. I was a little shocked to hear that. I was like, whoa, America's stupidest decision? I mean, that's pretty bold. America's pretty fucking stupid. This is a country that has had the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, the war on drugs, Japanese-American internment, I don't know, slavery. America's pretty fucking stupid. So to call it America's stupidest decision, flat out, ever, that's ballsy. And I was like, well, why is that? Like, why do you think it's stupid? And it was mostly that the war was justified on the Russian front. So naturally, I had to bring up some of the human rights abuse, because it's a little bit odd for someone to very quickly support Russia in the Ukrainian invasion if they are not themselves Russian at the very least. And they claimed that the Bucha Massacre did not happen. Now, that is a bold claim. That is a very, very bold claim. The Bucha Massacre is one of the biggest massacres that have happened in recent years. To say that Bucha did not happen is wild. We're talking about civilians that were getting sniped out of apartment windows, and people that were just going about their day that were actually just slaughtered. Dogs ripped people to shreds. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's fake. The Russian state might go as far as to say that it was faked and hyped up by Ukraine. But there's just too much evidence by too many corroborating sources and too many witnesses to just say the Bucha Massacre did not happen. One of the darkest moments in modern history. And then to justify that by saying that that is how we can determine that we should not be giving foreign aid to Ukraine. That's real fucking ballsy. It's just false. And this got me thinking about how the epidemic of fake news is one of the greatest threats to democracy. It's something that can only exist in the modern world. It is something that is deeply rooted in social media algorithms where engagement is better than truth. And our generation is really, really bad with, at the very least, media literacy. But it's not a shocker. It's not a shocker. It's a system that has failed our generation. For example, everybody my age, millennials and Gen Zers, they have economic insecurity. Their world could crumble at any point. And at the same time, we have insano existential challenges like climate change coming at us, or artificial intelligence that could take your very high-skilled job.
No.
And all the while, we can't agree on Russian propaganda. And to make it even worse, we have, what, hard-coded consumerism? These huge corporations make very short-term profits on us while we actually rot? It's no wonder that our generation has terrible mental health. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for Gen Z individuals. That's a figure from before the pandemic. We have been born into a world on the brink, and we have filters to hide that burning world around us. It's hard to say if our generation is fully aware of the consequences of our habits. Many of us are closed off as a result of our reactions that have been normalized, like snubbing spontaneous human interaction with our phones because it's comfortable and avoids awkwardness. We've mastered the art of ghosting before we've even met. If avoiding eye contact was a sport, our generation would be world champions with no competition. But why are we so uncomfortable with each other? Because to be in a generation that both struggles with loneliness, but actively avoids social confrontation seems so counterproductive. But there is an underlying deeper reason for it. Before the internet, most everyone had some form of a community. With a community, there was purpose and meaning, and it was a hell of a lot easier to be happy that way. There was even a time not long ago where religion was the center of day-to-day life. When you were a part of a church and forced to be around people, regardless if you liked those individuals or not, you were rarely lonely and forced to socialize. The traditional social structure does seem to align well with our intrinsic social needs.
Welcome to Bible study. We're all children of Jesus.
Martin Luther King Jr.
What'd he do?
He died for our sins.
Stay Bible. I think you can believe whatever you want. I think your religion is what it means to you. But some people suggest that the solution to all of Gen Z's problems is to revert back to like traditional social structure.
The proper way for society to orient itself is within a mythological structure.
But to be quite honest, that's stupid. Our generation has become more and more secular, and as time has gone on, society has progressed, and secularity is by no means inherently bad, and seems to be an inevitability to some extent. At the same time, there's also nothing wrong with religion. So where am I going with this? When we are secular, we are in a sense freer. We choose our morals, the groups we associate with, and the principles we follow based on personal beliefs rather than imposed doctrines. Some people might call that moral relativism. I don't really care what you call it, it is what it is. And not long ago, this freedom allowed for a more diverse and tolerant society. Everyone had the freedom to explore and express their identities and ideas without constraint. And the important part is, everybody had a corner or a community for their interests that held each other to certain standards and watched out for each other. While there was never a time when everyone agreed with everyone else, there was certainly a time when everyone had their own opinions and a compass for their own truths. Something has changed, though. What groups and ideas do we align with today? In the age of the modern internet, we have the options of echo chambers, quick-form content, flawed political associations, and fringe movements with problematic rhetoric. This is the biggest existential threat of our generation: post-truth. Without truth, we are completely aimless. There is no singular explanation for anything anymore, so everything must be absurd. We have such a wide array of truths to choose from that it feels that there is no absolute truth. And how can we fill the gap? Why, consumerism, of course! Lucky for us, this existential crisis that we all have come to experience has come at a time of late-stage capitalism and technological advancements. See, what would only be a little bit of turbulence for a generation before has had a chance to define itself as giving corporations the chance to breed the ideal consumer. There is a vacuum of meaning and corporations know there is a demand. If we can sell the symbol and signs of meaning in a product, we can temporarily satisfy appetite for purpose and identity. Products, brands, and media images don't just sell us goods or entertainment. They sell us a sense of self, a sense of belonging in a world that feels increasingly fragmented. The irony is, by seeking to fill this void with consumer goods and digital experiences, we are instead deepening it. What a crazy concept. Knowing this, of course, doesn't change the fact that your worth is directly proportional to your shopping cart size. Now here's the real kicker, and why I felt like I needed to make this video. We are at risk of extremism. We have very simple ideologies clashing, and they are extreme. And it is not hard to see, and not even worth analyzing, the fact that there is clear tribalism going on as coping mechanisms to the modern world. You can look at QAnon, January 6th. A more contemporary example is politicians like Mark Robinson being extremely successful, and that guy is actually just a Nazi. And all the while, we have the Russian Internet Research Agency, which used to exist, still kind of does. Complicated history, don't have the time to go into it, but that weaponized misinformation. And everybody should remember, I don't know, the 2016 and 2018 mishandling with Russia. But regardless, what does this mean? What does any of this mean? We are about to vote for a president. If this does not have a massive voter turnout, 2024, we're screwed. Democracy is not dead. Educate yourself and vote.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole... That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. They're sending from all over the world, not just South America, Latin America. They're sending them from Asia. They're sending them from Africa, the Congo. Last night, 22 people arrived from the Congo. Now, these are rough people. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. And you know what? We'll do things with Ukraine. We should loan them the money so that if they do make it, they're against tremendous odds. I tell you, Zelensky's one of the greatest salesmen in history. Every time he comes to the country, he walks away with $50 or $60 billion.
That's right, because all glory is not to government, all glory to God. Hey, look, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here.
Venjent!